I'm more proud of what I achieved off the field with everything going on emotionally and personally than I am from what I did on the field. The Grey Cups, the yardage, the touchdowns, all those things are awesome, but deep down after it's all said and done, I sit back and I look around of all the things I've accomplished and the rings, everything, and it's amazing, but I'm honestly so much more proud of myself of everything I kind of went through.
This episode of the Don't Change Much podcast features a conversation with Andrew Harris, a four-time Grey Cup champion, MVP, and CFL All-Star. Now, despite reaching career highs, he's also experienced the deepest and darkest lows of mental health. Success often stood in stark contrast to how he truly felt. Andrew shares his story in the new documentary, Running Back Relentless, and today speaks with us about how he's determined to inspire others who have lived in the world he has. I think we have to go back and really get into what fueled you as a person, as a player. You just said you were a shithead as a kid.
Yeah.
And also Nanaimo was instrumental for you as a young man and as a young football player. So you grew up in Winnipeg and the surrounding areas. Why was it so important for you to get away from those surroundings initially to take the next step in your life and your career?
Yeah, I mean, it all started just from childhood. I just did a documentary. It was a deep dive and going through this whole process, realizing why I was so called a shithead and where that came from. It wasn't like I was just wanting to be mischievous. It's just I had no guidance. I was very jaded. I didn't trust anyone. I felt isolated. I really, for the first time when I got to junior football, is when I finally found a sense of family, brotherhood, and mentors and father figures and people that I could look up to. Growing up, my mom was my rock, but single mother, and she married my stepdad, and it was a toxic relationship. A lot of abuse went on. My mom would finally hit a breaking point, and we would leave, we'd move. I think I moved like 19 times from the time that I could remember to the time I finally moved out of the house. My outlet was really sports and my friendships that I had through sports. And that's all I knew. And then the fact that I was moving around all the time, I'd never really locked down a solid group of friends that I could have a consistency with. And so it was a lot of change, but it weighed on me. And I didn't really honestly realize this until I got through this whole process of telling my story, really sharing where I came from and why I was so angry and jaded and why I was with relationships with women, with my friends, and how I treated people. As soon as one little thing would go wrong, I would just turn on them because that was what I was used to. I was used to that abandonment. I was used to not being able to trust people. That fueled me in a positive way on the field. But when people bury these things over and over again, you don't really deal with them or channel them in the right way, you get to a point where you hit a breaking point and it can be scary.
Well, a lot to unpack there, what you just went through. I think we need to cover some ground. You didn't know your father until
Yeah.
you're 27, I believe. You said your mom was your rock, but the relationship with your stepfather caused fractures with you and your mom because there was no trust with your stepfather. That led to destructive lifestyle. At that point, did you know that alcohol and partying was an outlet to mask what you were feeling? Or was that just, hey, that's what felt good at that age in your life?
In high school, I was really mixed up with a rough crowd, and we were selling drugs and a couple different other schemes we were doing and partying and just living life really recklessly. But I was also able to do that and still be dominant on the field. So I was always that fun guy. I wanted to, when I was playing BC, I'd always have the nightclub after parties, after games. And that's always been part of who I was. But it wasn't really to the point where it was detrimental. As you go through struggles, it takes over and it's not really about having fun anymore. It's more about just burying and hiding in alcohol and hiding and just forgetting about your issues and problems by just going off and having a night or 2 or 3 nights in a row. And that's where I was at. There's a lot of players, a lot of people who go through this that lost opportunities because of this, but I was able to keep it under control and pick my moments. But again, when things got ugly for me, it really turned.
Do you think that you pushed people away, refused healthy relationships because you needed that fight? You needed the anger, the chip to make yourself the football player you wanted to be?
I thrive in chaos and being under pressure. Now it's realizing this and understanding it, but you create your own chaos in a positive way now. Before it was, I didn't really accept it or understand it, so I didn't and know how to deal with it. So it was reckless and negative. But that's the beautiful thing about realizing and understanding who you are, where you come from, why you're the way you are, and create that sort of chaos in a positive way with positive outlets and positive reinforcement, and still be able to channel that in the right direction and still be successful.
It's all that trust issue you talked about. I'm sure that if you would have had opened yourself up to some teammates earlier on, then you wouldn't have felt like you're unloading your baggage, because it would have been friends that would have been accepting of you coming to them with some of the problems you're going through.
Absolutely. That trust factor is big. And especially in sports, when you put yourself in a vulnerable position, it's looked at as weakness, and you're looked at as maybe a liability when they can't trust you on the field or they can't trust you to perform the way you are. So it is a scary thought. It's a scary process. But that's why you need to find that keyword there is trust and the honesty behind it as well. So finding someone that actually does care about you and love you, or and have some sort of compassion for what you're going through, and whoever that person is. And if not, find some professional help or find it within your immediate circle that can maybe help you and deal with these things.